Hello, boys and girls.
Hello, all.
How are you doing? Somebody asked that we're no longer asking them how they are.
Okay, how are you?
Did you get? So the thing is, you can't answer. So anyway, how are you? Hope you are well. Whatever.
So we have GRV, the Labour Party gubernatorial candidate for Lagos. That's a mouthful.
It is
in the studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming. Yeah. So we're just going to have. For the first time, FK and I are going to try not to talk too much, which is a big challenge.
Which is a new
It's a big
concept on this
this hallowed podcast.
So normally at this stage, what we'll do is people send in to us their problems because we're wise.
Okay.
Why did you laugh? Why did you laugh like that?
Because of the intonation, the wise.
No, it's to show you the level of wisdom.
I love that.
Do you get that we bring to the table? Bolaji says, there is the narrative that you don't have the relevant experience in governance or executive leadership, and that he really likes your ideas, but due to a perceived lack of experience, he fears that you might not be able to execute them when you come into government or if you come into government. And I think a lot of the questions around this is generally just, you have a certain background, you're an architect having a certain experience, but you haven't been in government, you haven't been in, led an organization with a large amount of people, so people are like, these are great ideas. How do they then translate to implementation given this lack of experience in this area? What do you say to that?
I always say to that, I say, what experience does Awolowo have? He's the greatest premier. I mean, most of these leaders look up to Awolowo and try to mold themselves in his image, literally. What experience did he have? But he pushed the agenda for the Yoruba people in ways that no other person has. You look at Alhaji Lateef Jakonde. What experience did he have? He was a journalist.
Yeah.
And he rose high in journalism, yes, but it was not government experience. See, I say to people, the most important thing, one, is love. And I think His Excellency Peter Obi has made it okay again to talk about love in governance, because ultimately you are shepherding a people and you must love them, right? To give your all to ensure that their lives are better, and you give your time, and whatever capacity you lack, you build it, because that is your main focus. Awolowo will say that, I'm actually paraphrasing a quote from him. He will say that the reason why he's so focused and he can achieve so much is because when his friends are busy hobnobbing and playing around with girls and ladies of easy virtue, in his words, he's busy at home thinking about how the lives of his people can be better. You need to be a thinker. And we sort of lost that in our governance for a very long time. It was no longer okay to have ideas and to be able to articulate manifestos and thoughts. I remember when I got into politics, they'll say your grammar is too much. They just want you to crack a joke, chant, and then go back home, right? And then share money and people will vote. So we have moved away from that now. And it's about ideas. And also another thing to be said is that what quality of experience do these people in government have right now? Their experience is pretty much focused on state capture and maintaining the status quo. They've mastered the art of stealing money and hiding it. Right? They've mastered the art of politics, they've mastered the art of tokenism, and they've mastered the art of state capture. So if I am coming from that level of experience, I don't even think it's in the interest of Lagosians. Because, it's all about maintaining this state capture, and we need to get away from that for Lagos to breathe again, right? So for me, I'm visionary. I've built capacity in terms of understanding how public policy should be done. I'm an architect from one of the best schools in the world, and I've literally tailored every capacity building professional experience I've had to come back to serve Lagos, whether it's working with the American government's relation to New Orleans after it was flooded. And I chose that particularly because of the situation and similarities with Lagos and flooding.
What did you do in that capacity?
So it was just creating urban design, increasing mass housing, but doing it in a way that you don't dehumanize the people. Right. Because there's a way of building mass housing and affordable housing that almost becomes a ghetto. Yeah. Right? Especially where places that have low saddles and water can easily flood. The high land is always more valuable. Right? So trying to create that kind of balance and something that was endeared to because of the situation in Lagos State. I felt it will serve me well when I come back. And then working with Chinese government also in terms of urban, increasing density and building vertically, but without losing the communal touch that comes with traditional Hutong houses, right? Which is the courtyard house.
Which is like our abule that we have.
Pretty much, yes, exactly
cool.
that. And then when I moved back to Nigeria, I got into affordable housing, right? I partnered with Temple Housing. I was consulting on that. I worked with state governments, right? And we did a lot of work, even for University of Lagos. We did advisory on how to create affordable housing that delivers at 40% less than the actual cost.
Yeah.
So when you have a heart of service, you have the cerebral capacity, you have the vision, and you have the love for your people, Lagos will be so much better off. And I still say, with all the experience that they had, we're still asking who gave the order, Governor Sanwo-Olu.
Politician during a campaign. Wow. There's just, you're just akin to Jesus, just everything, and just listening to everybody, shaking everybody's hands. And then you get into governance, and all of a sudden, it is not high priority for you to be as accountable to people. So my question is my main issue with politics, politicians, and all of that, especially kind of in this kind of close scenario where we're getting to talk to you, you're answering questions and making promises, is always, what is your view on accountability to a very practical level of, there's things you've said so far now, and the things you say in the rest of this interview, and all around the things you said, these are my plans, are what I'm going to do. How do you think about accountability in the sense that what kind of structure are you going to put in place to keep yourself accountable, but also for us, the people that are listening to you, should you get into power, to hold you accountable, to say, okay, this is what I said I would do. And because what I find is that there are really no direct avenues to hold anybody accountable.
Feedback loops.
There's no feedback,
Don't steal my answer.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I want to... in fact, I don't know if I'm still in the question or in a footnote paragraph.
Exactly.
Sometimes in an exam you have questions.
So let me answer the question.
Italic writing ahead. That's where I am now. There's italic.
Because I'm very passionate about what you've talked about. Yeah. But even more, you see, most politicians typically have bought their way into office or muscled their way into office. This is the first time that people are putting politicians in, not because of the money that they are giving, but because of love, because of hope. So His Excellency Peter Obi and this obedient movement has redefined politics in Nigeria. It really has. And based on that, you've created a new type of politician. Because a politician is a reflection of the people that take the politics seriously. And the people that have taken politics seriously, they care about your manifesto. They care about your vision. They care about your delivery. And they will call you out.
Exactly.
They believe in transparency. So for me, this is what I've been advocating for since I got into politics. So you don't understand, I'm like a kid in a candy store right now.
Okay.
Right? So for me, transparency and accountability. First 10 days in office, we are publishing all Lagos State accounts. Line by line items. You're not going to have to ask for it. It will be there. It will be updated regularly. So I'm saying all this on camera. So I'm going to watch all of these interviews after I'm declared the winner. No problem. So I won't even wait for you to send it. But this is the thing, right? We're going to share this information in terms of infographics and then carry people along through our decision making, so they can see the opportunity cost. So for instance, this is our budget. We have 100 million for Ikeja local government. We could get so many schools done for 70 million, or we could get so many hospitals done for this amount. And then we show you how all that is broken down. See, in this year now, we're going to make this decision because of this. Now, you're building trust because now there's dialogue. I've always said we cannot leave politics and governance to just the politicians. The more people get involved, the better this country will be. And the only way to do that is by promoting this dialogue and building trust. That's the first thing. Secondly, I'm going to have a radio show, right, where we talk about issues per local government for the week. Then I come on Friday and address all those issues, or my deputy governor comes on, address those issues. And it's a way of feedback, right? Because, you see, there's a subconscious thing that we sort of start to lose a part of our humanity when you get into this office. And it's the little steps. For instance, you start moving in a bulletproof car. You start having people that are shielding you, right? You start having to be very conscious of your environment and everything. And you start becoming more secure and you're starting to lose touch. People around you are only telling you about the good things that you are doing. Yeah. So it's important to always put yourself with the people. So radio interviews, not radio interviews, so a show.
Yes, radio
but
show.
It's going to be very directed. Sure. And it's solving problems. It's about solving problems and gets people to voice and feel government, right? That's the second thing. The third thing, I'm going to have rotational government. So my seat will be moving between the 4 divisions, right?
What does that look like?
So, for instance, I'll be spending a week in the Badagry division. Sure. So if you want to see me, you come to Badagry. I also have to go by road or go by water. All of these things gives you that pulse. Your hand is on the pulse of everything. I'm supposed to stay centrally and making plans, right? And then you're interacting because I want to lift the quality of our local government chairman. Right? I know that the state assembly is very important, but the local government chairmen are the mini governors in those places. I want to have close relationships with them. So I'm going to always be present, right? And these are things I'm committed to doing so that even the people in these different places feel the presence of their governor, right? And this will keep me grounded.
Yeah.
I think that in power, the seeds of his own destruction are sown in it. And they flourish when there is no feedback loop. And when your feet are not on the ground, you're not grounded. So you must actively make sure that you are grounded.
Yeah.
And so these are some of the things that I'm going to do.
From the Igbo, who says he found love that he talks about so passionately. So what will he do to promote relationships and help single people?
Okay, so the first thing that we'll do...
There's a long question, though. You just ask
question.
It says, will he make it easier for single women to rent houses so we can visit? What will he do about traffic so Ajah to Yaba will no longer be a long-distance relationship? People can't visit each other quickly by 1 a.m. due to insecurity. And we need more women in tech so they can spoil us with money. So this is the type of constituent.
Yes. No, but it's true because people don't realize the human side to bad governance. A man is coming back from home after a stressful day in the office. He's sitting there in 3 hours traffic. He comes back home, small argument with his babe. They start fighting, he beats her. He's a bad man for touching or raising his hands on a woman. Yes, I'm not making any excuses for domestic violence. Please don't get me wrong. But I'm saying that life could be much easier if you didn't have to deal with that traffic, right? And you don't know how much traffic has destroyed relationships and homes. So,
we know.
So for us, we're going to tackle the traffic problem in Lagos. One, by dredging our waterways properly, right? So that we can start to have ferry services. Okay. Because a lot of people don't use water transportation because of the small size of the boats and they feel that it can capsize.
It's also a bad experience, right? Yeah, I've been in taxi ferry.
Yes. So what we need to do is have ferries that are more comfortable. You can drive on and then drive off.
So car ferries?
Yes, car ferries.
Not people ferries.
No, both.
Okay.
Both. So you can choose to use your car and get on it or, so you have proper connections. Secondly, I'm going to ensure that, for instance, I like the idea of, the conversation about Ajah. We're going to have a belt road that links Oniru VI all the way down to Bejuleke on one side. On the other side, Ikorodu all the way down to Ekpe. And then we're going to link them by bridges 6 kilometers long. Right? So these are very easy, actionable things because these are not long bridges. But in doing this, we created the belt road, which is a very efficient design for moving people around.
What's it? Sorry.
I'm not into urban design.
Yes, a belt road is like when you have a road that's doing like this, and then it's connected. So like in London, you have the Thames, right? And they have all the bridges, almost
across
52 across.
Just across.
Right, so it interweaves.
See how he's smiling. Architects, it's like it interweaves.
I'm passionate. It interweaves.
You know the exact number of bridges across the Thames.
It interweaves the city.
Yeah.
As opposed to having like the 3rd Mainland Bridge that's just like one long car park. Okay. You want to come and do a 4th Mainland Bridge, another long car park. No, you have to have these interwoven type of designs. I'm not saying that the 4th Mainland Bridge is a complete disaster. We'll look into it, but you need multiple, very well interwoven design. So there is that. And then also we're going to ensure that we start to reduce the number of cars on the road. We want to open up the BRT lane to private hailing companies because people are waiting for 40 minutes, 50 minutes for a bus. That should not be the case. We don't have enough BRT buses, and the government should not be the only ones having to buy BRT buses.
Sure.
Right? So the private sector should be able to get involved because we need as many people, as many buses that can carry as many people on those lanes, right? And it's going to be a plug and play situation. You don't need to know the who in government. You have your bus, you respect it, start using the lane, right? You pay whatever taxes or commission to the state. It's that simple. Plug and play. We're a government of platforms. Same thing with waste management as well. That is how we're going to function.
This is good because this is actually shocking my industry. So I have a recycling factory, and then there's actually a question about
recycling and waste management.
About waste management. Actually, I want to find the exact wording. It goes along the lines of Lagos is dirty.
Very dirty and stinky as well.
Lagos is dirty, but I had
dinner with a friend of mine who she lives in London, and whenever we would come out of his space, she'd be like, Lagos really smells.
It stinks. You don't realize it until you go out of Lagos. And I'm not talking traveling abroad.
No.
Just go to Ibadan or go to. There was a time where I spent almost like 2 months in Ibadan. And then as soon as I was driving into Lagos, it just hits me. Hit the stink. Hit me. Right? Well, Ibadan, like the air is so good.
Yeah, it's
I
fresh.
don't realize like the level of pollution and just the stink of Lagos, and that needs to change if we want to attract tourists to be able to come.
FK, is it on Omen's question?
No. So there was somebody else, but I don't think I highlighted it. But I remember what he said. He said they don't pick up the bin in front of my road, and it's always very dirty. And then there's another question that says, "Hi, JRB, given your interest in waste management,
yes, that's on Omen.
What are your concrete plans to tackle plastic, air, and noise pollution in Lagos State? How will you tackle the human behavior aspect? For example, people throwing garbage on the road, as well as existing agencies to achieve these plans in the air." But there were a lot of comments like that, like Lagos is nasty.
Yeah.
It smells bad. You know, there was a comment that, what are you going to do about the fact that when you land at the airport and you come outside, you're hit with the smell of Lagos and all of that. So how do you look at that from the actual problem of, okay, there's pollution everywhere, and then the secondary problem of the existing agencies, and you have to work within that.
So for me, I believe that first, waste management, when we're not doing waste management in Lagos State, we're doing picking and dumping.
Sure.
Right? So waste management involves recycling, upcycling, and waste to wealth sorts of systems. Right? And for me, this must be domiciled at the local government level. That's why there's such poor uptake, because everything is centralized.
Sure.
Right? So Loma must come down to the local government level, right? Because the local government will then be able to reap. When we say we're converting waste to wealth, their interest in being able to generate funding then ties into how much uptake they will have of that policy and how they will enforce it. Our waste must be separated from the home, right? Organic waste must be separate, and organic waste routes must be separate and different from plastic waste routes, right? So it starts to become an efficient system, right? And community-based waste management must actually come into place. So if people are aggregating plastics, they're aggregating it from the house, from local government, and it's going in a particular direction, right? And all the other agencies that are involved in that must then create an aggregation, right? So that you are not seeing plastic waste all over. You're going to Igomu, around that Papa area, seeing plastic. You're going Amu Odofin on this area, going towards, you are seeing huge plastics there. We need to have a central place so we can also achieve economies of scale. So the state can now say, okay, the energy that you need here, we can help provide it. All of you aggregate, let us see what we can do with this. Because after human capacity, the biggest resource we have in Lagos State is waste. That's what people don't understand. Because we have such a small footprint and a huge population, the amount of waste we generate is huge.
Enormous.
And the space by which you have to move to get waste is also small. If you're in Kwara State, right, and you had the same population, but because of the landmass, the cost of moving and get is going to be phenomenal. So it will not pay off as it would in Lagos State. So we need to maximize and create economies of scale in waste management. So these are the things that I'm going to work with all the agencies, because a lot of people have been doing fantastic stuff in this space. We're going to bring them and we're going to build this policy with them. Another thing that we're going to be looking at doing is putting a cost on each plastic bottle that you can then recoup when you return it This is not rocket science. It's something that's
It's
being done in Europe. It's done
world,
elsewhere, right? Also, we're going to be looking at changing the situation of having nylon bags. We want to start making bags out of cassava flour and cassava liquid because it will decompose over a week, over 2 weeks when it's in the ground. Now, how is the process of doing that? What will be the uptake? How we carry the market women along, right? How we bring the farmers into that as well. And then it pays off more because it creates more jobs as well. So these are the innovative things we'll be looking at to solve the problem and also generate wealth.
Speaking of market women, Omo Iya Oniresi, is that it? Yes. Yeah. Says, hi Jola and FK, hello to JRV also. Welcome back from the holiday.
Like the added on. I'm not really
I'm not here.
Welcome back from your holiday and hope you guys feel better concerning the backlighting INEC did to all of us. I'm a huge fan of the podcast and I'm going to go straight to my question. It's about market men and women and the handling of markets in general, because we all know they play a huge role in the city's cultural and economical structure. My mom is a market woman in Lagos Island, and what was used to campaign to them was JRV's pedigree and how he would be unable to relate to the predicament of common masses. For years, the markets have dealt with different governments coming in with different rules and regulations. They demolish the markets and give controls to individuals who say they are building plazas and rent back to these women at exorbitant prices, making some lose their income and they can't because they can't afford new rent. Imagine renting out a store for 5 or 10 million per year, and this store doesn't even have enough space for one chair. Sometimes markets are never reconstructed, which turns a once boisterous commercial place to a wasteland and affects the drainage system of the city and causes traffic. Look at Sandgrouse Market in Lagos Island. Yes. Also, inside the markets during rainy seasons, there are literally no-go areas because of flooding, and people get rainbows to go about their daily activities. Case in study, I'm going to butcher these names, man. Ereko Market, and all around the Dumota markets, people have gotten sick and even died. Yes. How will you tackle these issues? What plans do you have for these people? How are you going to talk to these people? Please, they don't have a lot of knowledge, and some of them don't have they have little knowledge of formal education. Also, it would be really nice if these issues are addressed, because my mother sometimes calls me at 3 a.m. Beyonce time just because her and other market women fear what's going to happen to them.
Okay. So, there's a lot of propaganda, but historically, the biggest ally of Herbert Macaulay, who was born with the silver spoon and the most elite of Lagosians, were the market women. See, this is about love, and I keep talking about that. Right? Love has no class. Yeah. I want the best for you, right? And for me, the markets are fundamental to our success, mainly because what they pay in relation to informal taxation is way more than what the people paying formal taxes are paying. The percentage of the monies that they pay in tax relative to what they earn is phenomenal. And nobody's accounting for what these monies are being used for. Yeah. So this is going to change. The whole idea of a woman is selling pure water in Lagos Island. She buys market of pure water of 1,000 naira. Agbe will collect 200 naira out of it. What profit is left on that market? So when people say that, the people that have been governing us, they are in touch, they know how to speak our language, they come. Okay, but they are also proliferating poverty for all of you. Right? They've done in 20 years, how have they made your life better? The examples that you are giving Lagos Island with flooding is because of the indiscriminate sand filling of the wetlands of Lagos State. Wetlands are natural gutters in a coastal city. When greedy politicians and developers just sand fill without thinking about ensuring that water leaves the city, you then find a situation where water is backing up all of Lagos Island, all of the markets, even primary schools. There are days where the children cannot go to school. And this water is so dirty that even going in it and just being around it makes you sick, because a lot of effluence is also coming into it, right? And this is supposed to be Lagos Island, the heritage of Lagos, right? And you have this all over. So it comes with an urban planning problem. We must always ensure that water can get out of the city. We must implement a proper wetland protection policy that's focused on ensuring that we have our wetlands preserved and protected. And then you can have tourist sorts of developments in there that does not involve sand filling, right? And then for the market women, please be reassured that we are now going to bring you in. All those taxes that you're paying informally, we are going to formalize it so you get the direct benefits of these taxes. A woman has been paying informal tax in the market. She is pregnant, she gives birth. She cannot come to the market. So what kind of maternity leave payments is she going to get? So this must be formalized so that the government, the local government or the state government can give her an allowance for those times where she cannot be at the markets, earn an income. Secondly, you've seen in the markets where a woman has like 2 kids. She's using her leg to hold one. She's selling by gutter. She's using her leg to hold one so that child does not go into gutter. You know, another hand to hold and she's selling.
Yeah.
There should be a creche in that market. Right? That in that creche, the education is universal across Lagos State. Because technology allows us to do that now, right? And these are benefits that they are going to be getting from the government.
That's like technically what the local government is supposed to do,
It's
right?
supposed to be doing, yeah. It's supposed to be doing, but they're not doing that because they are not really visionary. I mean, they're just contractors, really. So for me, market women are extremely important to us. We love them. We want to ensure that their businesses thrive and they make more money. We're going to connect more roads into those places, ensuring that it's not flooding so that more people can come. The more people and more transactions that are made in Lagos State, the more they can pay in terms of taxes. But it must be formal, it must be transparent. So they can see this is the amount of money that has been paid.
Yeah.
And we can now say, okay, out of this money, we are going to use for environmental works in this market. Whatever income is coming must be plowed back in, right? And that's the only way their lives can actually improve. So 4 years down the road, when I'm coming back to seek re-election, I can say, Mommy, has your life actually improved? And then they can truly answer us, right? Not a situation where you're paying all these monies and you still have to be responsible for the cleaning of your market. You still have to be responsible for the money to pay for security for your market. So what are they doing with all this money? In fact, what is Lagos doing with all this IGR that they are getting? Because we are indebted, right?
How much debt are we in?
I think at the last count, almost 1 trillion, right?
Sorry?
And then about
Sorry?
yeah, 1 trillion. And then about 10 I'm sorry, the numbers, biscuits. I know we borrowed another, is it 300 billion this time? You know, so it's ridiculous. And the money is not showing. Where is the money going? You
Who is
understand?
supposed to pay?
It's us that are going to pay.
Not me.
We're going to pay directly and indirectly because the opportunity cost of what that money should have been used for will be used to servicing those loans.
This debt is giving. Who ordered for that?
This is Jollz Bubu speaking. I wanted to find out what is your plan for housing for young Lagosians. I've been house hunting for a year now, and to get a decent studio apartment that's affordable and not in the slums feels like an impossible dream. How can we start out our lives when there's barely any option for us on where to lay our heads? Working on the island and living in Ikorodu is hell.
Exactly.
Getting a place to stay around Surulere, Yaba, and places close to the island is hell as well. Please, I would really appreciate if you could tell us your plans for housing as the architect of Lagos and plans for when you are going to arrest the criminals posing as real estate developers. Thank you.
So on the short term, low-hanging fruits, we're going to incentivize companies that allow their workers work from home, right? That's short term, right? So the more they can do that, the more tax reductions that they'll get. Secondly,
that also helps get people off the road, Sha.
Yes. So that's the first thing.
Can I, ask about that? Because then when you have more people working at home, you have to address the secondary problem of internet. Well, that is then more business will be able to come in and solve those problems, right? But the main idea now is this. The inconvenience in terms of time, the amount of productive hours that you gain, the energy, the quality of life significantly improves. So that's a short-term goal. For some companies, it might not be realistic. I mean, like you guys now, you need people to be here to man cameras and stuff. But some people, your editor does not need to come in, right? So incentivizing that, that's the short-term. That's one short-term goal. Secondly, we must build purpose-fit, affordable, multi-income housing. So you see in Japan, they have capsule apartments. You just have a bed and you have a study space. These are apartments that will be built all across Lagos State, right? So that young people can have a place that is close to their work and is a place that is actually designed to truly be affordable. Because a 3-bedroom place, a 2-bedroom place is not efficient, right? And right now, you're just looking for a place to lay your bed, lay your head, and work. So that's one. Also,
the decentralization of development in Lagos State. I mean, look at all examples that you gave. They want to live in Surulere because it's close to the island. Coming from Ikorodu. So we've talked about draining our waterways. We've talked about gathering data on our water level so we can put that to the private sector so they can also get involved. And then the dredging of our waterways will now be data-driven because we're trying to get the sand out for the particular direction we're trying to go. So if you can now take a ferry and come from Ikorodu to Marina, and you are doing that in 30, 45 minutes, it's okay to live in Ikorodu. But the problem is you are waking up at 4:35 to try to get to work for 8. So that's the problem. So we need to dredge our waterways, make it easier for you to live in other parts of Lagos and come centrally. Also, we're going to be incentivizing companies to go and set up in Lagos East and Lagos West. Whether we're going to give them free land based on the amount of people that they're going to hire, these are incentives that we're going to put in because we must decentralize development in Lagos. We cannot just have one-way traffic in the morning or traffic in the night. Now we've created a new third mainland traffic going from the island all the way down to Ajah. Right? So that needs to change. Right? And it shows very poor development when you just see one-way traffic that way. So for me, these are the things that we're going to be doing. And we're also going to focus on openly making affordable housing units are available to the people, right? There's a situation where these people build units, most of them are still empty because they've sold it to themselves and they're reselling it on the market, right? And then when you hear the price, you're asking affordable what? Affordable to who? You know? But when we do this, it's going to be like a lottery system. So let's say you can enter the lottery with 150,000, right? And then we'll do an open lottery. And the winner gets to stay there, right? But you don't get to own to sell. It belongs to the government. When you are not using it anymore, you hand it back. The government gives it to someone else that needs it. I mean, this is something that's done in England, council homes. This is standard, so it's sort of a social welfare net that must be open and transparent. If you own a council flat in London and they find out that you're renting out to somebody else, you get into big trouble. And now, because we have the BVN, you can tie so many charges to that will follow the person. So we set the rules, we set the laws. If you need to move out, give it back so that someone else that needs it can use it. So again, it goes back to openness and transparency, accountability, and decentralizing our development and creating urban renewal for sustainable communities all across Lagos State.
Awesome.
Okay, I have a question that's twofold. This person calls themselves Jollz Tiny Purse. Says, "Hi girls, I'm my incoming Lagos State governor. Rooting really hard for you to win this election. My first question is your plan on including feminist foreign policy into governance in Lagos State. Second question, which is probably even more important than the first, is what's your plan to bring Berry Blast back into circulation? I've been looking for it since October 6th last year and I am tired."
Can I just say that there are at least 10 questions about the Berry Blast
and
issue?
iced tea.
So there's 3 questions I would say. There's a question of the price of iced tea has gone up significantly. And then Alex also asked, what are you going to do about the price of bottles in the club? Now, all these questions are actually about inflation.
Yes.
Right? The very last question, I think you must address it because it's gone. And I think it should be a government order that they should bring it back. So there's the question of things are not around, but I think a lot of people are asking, obviously in a silly way, everything is getting more expensive. Someone says, see the price of Capri Sun in the market. So,
yes, I mean, it's a reflection of our currency as well, the loss of value of our currency and the difficulty in bringing things in, right? So ultimately, with His Excellency Peter Obi reclaiming his mandate, I'm sure that these problems will be solved by God's grace, because he will definitely make trade a lot easier in Lagos. But there was the first part of that question.
Feminist foreign policy.
Yes. Now, there's always this misconception about feminism. What is this? And then there's the patriarchal sort of response and defensiveness to it. For me, feminism is about giving women equal rights in whatever it is. So if it's salaries, let them get the same. If it's privileges, let them have the same, right? And that for me is sacrosanct, right? Because you also have to understand that women are primary caregivers in the event that they are. Women are part of our society. They make up more than half of our society. And their input in policy making is extremely extremely important if you want to carry half of the population along, right? So my government is going to have a minimum starting point of 35% inclusion, minimum starting point. And it's not really going to be about affirmative action. It's going to be there are a lot of excellent women, right? There are excellent women all around, and they have to be part of your government. Just like you have the differently abled people that must also be part of government, so they can also include. Because when we're all talking, we're all making policy. If people's interests are not being put on that table, they will be left out. So it's just a practical thing. It's not even anybody doing anybody favors. You want to have a good government that everybody feels you. You need to make sure you carry people along. That's why you make policy with people, not for the people. Right? It's extremely important. That's why you see, so they say they're doing this, they're doing that. It makes headlines, but the people are not feeling it, right? So that's what needs to happen. If there's any direct question, because feminism is a very broad thing, but there are more direct questions that can be answered. So, for instance, maternal health, for instance, sexual health, domestic violence, ensuring that they have a voice, and also celebrating the voice, right? Because, see, I have always been attracted to strong women. It's something, right? A women that have a vision, women that are outspoken. If you see me today here, it's because I have a lot of women behind me, right? It's women that have encouraged me, right? So we are better off as a society when women also take rise to their responsibility and rise to their... And you know what is actually even interesting that people don't realize? They always say feminism is this thing that came from abroad. But we have had female kings.
Yeah,
go back.
Actually,
people don't realize.
a lot
People
of our
don't know this
societies
story.
in Africa are deeply matriarchal.
Yes.
You know.
Hey, look at the history of the pharaohs. The Kadanke was the mother of the pharaoh. Go to Ghana.
Yeah.
The king's mother is literally like a king.
Yeah.
Right? And it goes all through. There's so many matriarchal societies, and it goes back. This is not new stuff, right? And they are respected.
Yeah.
Right? They have a pride of place. So it's not so much if I even think, I'll go as far as saying, please forgive me, but this is just historical thoughts. Our women lost a lot of their rights and position based on the incoming of religion and colonialism. And a lot of people think that Africans were just these backward people that do not respect their women. And that's also because we don't know our history. And this is why history is very important. When you actually know your history, you see the pride of place that women always had in society. It got lost, with colonization.
You've kind of spoken a little bit about the internet.
There's a lot of questions about Aberos and Omani.
Yeah, you don't ask that one.
Yeah. So for me,
it's just how do you?
Yes, it's about converting them. It's about converting them to a more productive engagement.
How?
They generate over 120 billion naira every year, but this point does not show on them. So we're going to domicile skill acquisition centers in all the local governments, do food for skills programs where you come there, you're guaranteed to eat, right? And then you choose the skill set that you want to learn. Because, for instance, I'm an architect. If you want to do finishing in a space, you go and look for people from Togo or Cotonou to do your POP, to do your tiling. But there are many unemployed people on the street. So we're going to give them that skills for good finishing and all of that. And then the local governments would incentivize companies that come to work there to hire them, right? And that's part of the contract guidelines and stipulations for you to actually work with government, right? So these are some things that we're going to do. And we're going to be, it's no longer okay to be a carpenter. You must now become a craftsman, right? And we're going to bring in people to take that skill set to a new level, provide all the machines, provide all the equipment that they might need. When I was at MIT and we're using laser cutters and 3D printers, the world did not know about laser cutters and 3D printers. So the idea is create fab labs for people. Once you give them the skills, the machines to be able to do it, you'll be surprised how much potential they can do and how much they can generate. So, and also, it's also about calling them, Oga, that time of using you to suppress votes has passed. Me, I'm here to work so that people vote me back in, right? So now that you know that, these are now the options. How do you want to do it? How do you want to move forward? And I believe it will work. Because every time Agbos come and address me and they're like, once I just ask them, Oga, if I bring jobs for you, would you leave the street? I keep saying this and I must keep emphasizing this because these guys are dehumanized. I swear to you, their mask comes off. The last time this broke me, one guy was from Unilag, but life happened to him and he ended up on the street. One guy, the next guy next to him was from Nsuka, right? And well, we're also going to treat the drug abuse issue as a health issue, not a criminal issue. It's very important to keep emphasizing this because when you treat it as a criminal issue, you dig them even deeper into that criminal system. When you treat it as a health issue, you pull them out, right? And you rehabilitate them and can actually make them more productive members of society.